All right, I am dressed up for a Halloween party at the office, so it's a very serious edition of the College Countdown podcast. I'm Josh Neighbors. He is Jack Allen. He's about to obviously go somewhere and work very seriously. I just got done some very, very important work as the morning radio show ended. We got a fun show coming your way today. So it's two things that are, I mean, we promised you big picture before the year on this show. We didn't realize how big picture it was going to be. So today we've got Louisiana governor talking about the LSU football opening. And also we've got the idea of College Gameday going to a rivalry near us, the Battle of the Ravine, and really to use that to talk about, hey, how many games they picked this year that have been Southeastern Conference games. And so the merits of the games they pick, Reese Davis's comments about the selection process. We'll have all that in the show today. Once again, he is Jack Allen. He is at Jack Allen TV on the X. I am at Josh Neighbors _ on the Twitter /X as well, at CC Podcast JN. Like the show, subscribe to the channel. And my costume is Pat McAfee, okay? So that's what it is. I don't like Pat McAfee. I just wasn't going to go buy a new costume, Jack. Wasn't going to do it. So I use black tank top. It works out because it's warm in here as well. So, yeah, all of those things. How are you, by the way? Because I can feel the crunch right now. Like, I am doing soccer games. I am doing volleyball games. I am doing basketball games. Starting next week, I'm being asked to do high school football as well. I mean, it's all kind of coming together right now.
Yeah, on Monday night, I was in Memphis for that exhibition game between the Razorbacks and Memphis, and we didn't leave the Forum until about 1:30, 2 in the morning, so didn't get back to Little Rock till like 3:30 or 4. I know I was texting you as I was leaving work that night, and you were getting into work to start the morning radio show.
Yeah.
So it's officially crossover season.
It's that time of year where everything starts getting crushed together. But so we had last time you and I talked, Brian Kelly had yet to be fired, right?
Yeah.
And since that time, we've had something really fascinating happen. So if you're wondering, number one, why Louisiana's governor has been making so many comments about what's happening at LSU, Jack, I believe the explanation is that LSU currently does not have a president.
Correct.
And because they are a state university, some of these responsibilities seem to have fallen to the governor in some way, or he is taking responsibility. Explain to folks why Louisiana's governor has taken such an active role, and not just a coaching search, but it seems the entire situation.
Well, it's more of the latter. It's more that he's taken control because LSU's president left to take a job at Rutgers a while ago, and they have been in the process of finding his replacement. They're supposed to, I think, have it down to a list of 2 or 3 finalists as of today. And so the expectation, I think, is next Tuesday they maybe make an announcement or at least cut the list to 2. So they are getting closer and closer to hiring a president at LSU. The problem is that in the meantime, you don't have that ultimate decision maker, especially when it comes to the athletic director, Scott Woodward. And so part of what happens is then because there is no president, the power then goes to the board, and the board is appointed by the sitting governor. And so at this point, the sitting governor has
so all board members are appointed.
However,
but they sit as like a Supreme Court type deal where
kind of that kind of deal. I mean, they have
an open board spot comes open, the governor appoints the next.
The governor appoints the next one.
Okay.
And so at this point, my understanding is that a majority of the board has been appointed by the current governor. And so the current governor essentially exerts control over the board because they're all his people. And so they're all helping to push his agenda. And so he's become almost a de facto president in the meantime until they hire someone new. So, which is why it's interesting that he comes out in a press conference in the state capitol on the record and says, I would sooner have Donald Trump hire LSU's new head coach than the athletic director, which is insane. Yeah,
just like it doesn't matter what your political affiliation is. So what you're describing is a situation where a governor who has got some power is taking a very active public role, and we know how much of just a general service thing, how much of college sports is public perception, right? It's so much of the battle, And what you're telling us here is essentially this governor has decided to insert himself into this. I saw an interview with one of the board members, or at least he was asked to comment, and he had said, I think he had seen it, but he's like, I hadn't seen that. Like, I've got no comment on that.
Well, because the governor was like, oh, well, the board is going to take care of the coaching search. And the board is like, what do you mean? That's not our job. That's not what we normally do. Like, that's why we have an athletic director.
Yeah.
And
I saw the governor also next to the Mike Tiger statue was like, let's get a Charlie Kirk statue on campus. And all the fans are like, are you trying to bomb our recruiting?
Well,
like,
you know what's funny?
Yeah.
Like, he is not an LSU guy. He is a graduate of UL. He's a Raging Cajun. And so there's a lot of people who are like, oh, here comes this governor out to sabotage the university he has no connection with. And if anything, is a little bit of a rival of. I don't know if you remember last year, this is the same governor that insisted Mike the Tiger go back to making appearances at LSU football games. And when the vet school said, no, we're not going to do that. Like we have a system set up and he's not doing that anymore. He said, okay, we'll bring in a fake Mike the Tiger from Florida just to do it. And curse the program, in my opinion. But like this governor has been just off the rails trying to influence LSU football. And I don't even remember if it's him, but he threatened to shut the program down a while ago. One of either him or the governor before. It's been a while, over like budget talks and stuff like that. It's like, if we can't get an agreement, we're not going to have LSU football.
Yeah, so they want to get a tax hike through. They were trying to get a tax hike.
Yeah, I mean, it was wild.
And they were using LSU football as a vehicle to get a tax hike approved.
So I mean, this is not something that is new to like government insertion. I mean, you go back to Huey Long, and you talk about Huey Long. Literally, like the songs, some of the three notes at the beginning, the bum bum bum. That song was written by a governor of Louisiana.
Right.
Like,
so it's great. It's
politics and LSU football.
Well, I say this all the time. And like, there is an intersection of politics and sport. The question though is that like, where is the line? And that line is always going to be blurry because it's based off of the current state of affairs. Whether it's Jesse, and I'm not equating this, but like Jesse Owens putting his hand up, and in Germany is a political moment. It is that Colin Kaepernick taking a knee. They're different, right? But they are still sports and politics meeting. Donald Trump and Dana White's friendship, is something where, I mean, there's nothing inherently American about the UFC. Actually, it's one of the major sports leagues that does not play the national anthem at the beginning of its events. I'll tell you what, the UFC at the White House will be probably the first time they ever do it, just because they've got so many foreign fighters. You might look at it on the fight card, you might have 15 different countries represented, right? And so they don't do the anthem. But the UFC is going to be on the White House lawn on the 4th of July. And all of this stuff is political. It's not to say right, wrong, or indifferent, whatever. There's always been a mesh point. The thing though is that this is pretty clearly, to me, a guy using his platform and exploiting the situation again to try and either, it looks like to me, score some political points.
Or gain some political control over the university.
Yeah, either one of the two, right? Because it feels like now he's like, what we're going to do is we're going to hire this kind of a coach. And whether he's involved or not, it feels like this guy is going to claim responsibility in some way, shape, or form for whoever the next LSU head coach is, which short-term is great because everybody's happy when you hire the coach initially, unless you're Tennessee with Greg Schiano. But like LSU is going to make a hire that's exciting to people because it's such a good job. And at least in my opinion, they will, whether the coach is good or not.
My fear is that this is going to make LSU, like at this point, if you're a head coach, especially a strong head coaching candidate with multiple options of where to go, why would you choose LSU where it seems that the AD who might theoretically be hiring you doesn't have the support of the state, or they're not going to have an AD during the coaching search, at which point, like, what am I jumping into? We talk about this concept of alignment, between you, and we usually talk about it between president, athletic director, coach, and that being the concept of alignment.
Yes.
Here you're adding in another step above that. in terms of like state government that has to be aligned and clearly is not in alignment. And so if I'm a coach looking and trying to find where all the pieces are moving in the same direction, I'm running away from LSU at this point. Like, this is not a situation I want to just like jump headfirst into at the very least.
I'll give you a comp to this. It very much reminiscent of what was happening, what's happened for a long time at Texas. And like, we didn't have governors involved to this extent, but the big question at Texas was, would they be able to find somebody who could navigate all the cooks in the kitchen at Texas? And what makes this different than like an Ole Miss is that at an Ole Miss, when you have a coach like that, you have to I think Ole Miss's best quality is as a apparatus, as a unit. Ole Miss has realized, hey, in both football and men's basketball, they have got as good of coaches as they could ask for, right? Lane as a personality, as a entity, plus his performance. I mean, like, let's be clear about it. His performance has been fantastic considering past results, and he's consistently being successful. And they've treated him like he is winning at a clip that they are not accustomed to. Chris Beard, we know his quality. They're giving him resources that feels to me uncommon from what we've seen at Ole Miss basketball to make sure that he has got a chance to be the level of coach. I think that one they have a less good of a chance of keeping him, from one of the great jobs, but basketball and football are a bit different. The difference between them and places like this is the involvement level. It is its own thing. Like, Nick Saban somehow managed to do it at Alabama where he got the takeover. And I think that situation worked out pretty well. I think Kalen DeBoer's got a pretty good handle on that now. I mean, I feel like he is kind of the man. Like, I don't know how much involvement from other folks, but Sark to me was the example of a guy where it's like, who's going to settle this down? It's like, oh, the guy who put himself through his own personal hell, worked his way out of it, worked with Nick Saban, and then got there and was like, yeah, I know how to manage all this stuff. Now, maybe he's tired of managing it because apparently he might want to jump to Tennessee or might be trying to look out for an NFL job, whatever. But you're seeing the point I'm making is like the Texases, the LSUs. I don't know about, I can't speak to Florida. I don't really know that situation. But obviously it's a much more involved situation. The Auburns of the world. And every place has boosters behind the scenes. But like, Lane is an example of let the guy cook, and he's cooked up something that they're not accustomed to. I think Drinkwitz is the same at Missouri. It's like, hey man, like, this is a guy. It's like, we believe in him, and he's got. We're gonna let him make the choices, and he's managed everything very, very well. And the school is showing that appreciation what they're doing. This is the dance now that LSU is gonna have to navigate. And I think you might be right about people want the situation, but ultimately somebody's gonna want that job because it's gonna make them generationally wealthy, and it's gonna man, you got to access some pretty good players.
Exactly. You shake a tree and a wide receiver or a defensive lineman falls out in Louisiana. The big thing, the thing is, and like you touched on, I mean, this is something that typically happens, it feels like, at a booster level, and it happens behind the scenes. What makes this situation so unique and so rare is that it's all playing out not only in like a public space, but in the public sphere.
A press conference. It's like the public talking to the public.
Exactly. And it's on the state house floor. Like, it's on the Senate floor. You're sitting there talking about this. And so, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily unique in the sense of a power struggle. Like, when power is vacated, like it is here, there's always a struggle to fill it. And obviously that's what's happening here. The only difference is that we're seeing it play out, and we have people going on the record to talk about it and saying that Donald Trump should be making the hire, and just taking things to the extreme.
I would love that just to see who he picks.
Look, could you imagine him, like, at this point, let him coach a game?
He's going to make Tommy Tuberville come out of Congress to go and to go be the coach at LSU. I think but yeah, I mean, talking about football memories, my favorite one, and once again, like, that's the suck up. My favorite one, just anecdotally, is when Tommy Tuberville was like, "Yeah, I coached Patrick Mahomes," when he knows he didn't coach. He didn't recruit him. Didn't nothing. He knows he didn't, and Patrick's like, "Yeah, I didn't coach me, didn't recruit me." It's just, It was so classic, but yeah, it's like the idea of tossing Trump in there was just the wrinkle that we all wanted and needed to see. All right, let's hear from my friends at DraftKings. We'll talk about a little bit of College Game Day.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800. One play can change a season. One upset can silence a stadium. With every snap, the stakes get higher, and no one brings you closer to the action than DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook for live betting. From live betting to odds, boosts, and so much more, DraftKings Sportsbook has everything you need to stay in the action from kickoff to the final whistle. New customers, this one is for you. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get paid out $300 in bonus bets instantly. Own every Saturday with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code NEIGHBORS. That's code NEIGHBORS to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
All right, so Jack, one more thing to touch on here on today's show is Reese Davis made some comments about the College Game Day selection process. And he had talked about, he had pitched the Battle of the Ravine. That's a rivalry here between two, you can explain it, the two schools, and explain the what makes this rivalry, for once it's actually the right word to use, truly unique.
Yeah, so basically Reese Davis, whenever he was doing his kind of media scrum ahead of the College Game Day at Vanderbilt this past week, someone posed the question. They asked, have you given any thought into smaller schools? And it kind of comes from the discussion that's been big on social media and on other podcasts recently about College Game Day's decision-making and the fact that they've only been going to SEC schools. And just kind of in that context, they asked Reese, they said, what do you think? And Reese said, well, he mentioned by name. He said, well, I'm kind of pushing for the Battle of the Ravine. And I know that is very much in the conversation right now among producers for the show, among Reese. The fact that he even mentioned it is a big deal. But the Battle of the Ravine is a rivalry game in Arkadelphia, Arkansas, between Henderson State and Ouachita Baptist, which are two Division II schools in Arkansas. And they are literally located across the street from each other. From the press box at Henderson State, you can see into the stadium at Ouachita Baptist. They're about 0.8 miles apart if you walk down the street. And so that's what the teams do. Henderson State gets ready for the game in its own locker room, puts on the pads, walks across the street, and then plays the football game. And so it's this crazy, you have apartments that are Henderson apartments that overlook the field at Ouachita. These are two schools that have been playing since the 1800s. I think this is the 97th meeting is going to be this year, 97 or 98. I think 98 actually, now that I say it. And it is a rivalry, that because the schools are so close to each other, there's a lot of historic mascot stealing and statue painting and kidnapping homecoming queens and dropping marshmallows from planes onto the field. There's a lot of wacky history in this rivalry, and it's very uniquely college football. And so it makes me really excited to think that College Game Day is even considering the idea of taking on something that's so uniquely college football and showcasing it, because I think that's what Game Day should be.
Yeah,
like that's the part that I think we've almost lost in the last decade of College Game Day, is this idea that Game Day was something like we go on the road to these places so that we can showcase the cool and unique moments and cool and unique things about college football, as opposed to now it's just, we go to the big games and talk about whatever while we're there.
I mean, like, if you think about it, I know this is a morbid example, but I think it's an important one to use. Like 2007, after the Virginia Tech shooting, the first game that was in the spring, the summer, I believe, the first place they went to in the off season the following season was Virginia Tech, right? When they played ECU. Like, it showed the significance and the importance and what college football represents and means to us. They have been to places, so it's been few and far between, but they've been to Williams and Amherst. They've been to Fargo, North Dakota. They've been to James Madison. I don't know if they've done anything else FCS related. They've done, obviously, Army, Navy. And the other part about this, too, you mentioned all the fun stories. Also, there is some quality there, right? Like the stadium that Ouachita plays in is a Cliff Harris Stadium. He is a Hall of Famer. He is a Dallas Cowboy. He has the award, the Cliff Harris Award, named after him for the best it's the small school Heisman, right? Tyson Bagent won that award. That's him?
No, you're thinking of the Harlan Hill. Cliff Harris,
Hill Award.
top D2 defensive player is
defensive player. Excuse me. Yeah. So yeah, but there have been those guys who have also gone on to play in the NFL too, I believe.
Yes,
I think those guys have won. Yeah. So I mean, like you've got the ability to showcase those awards, showcase that like there is a quality football tie into it, and so I think that amongst all the other stuff that you do on game day, preview the big games, whatever, all that kind of stuff, like. Look, we're at a point in the season where you can do that. There's. I think maybe it's the planning that it's going to take some pretty significant planning to get kind of out of it what you want. That's fine. They can do it. I don't have any interest in just going big SEC, like. I agree. The SEC games every single week are very compelling. I don't know if College Game Day as a product needs to be going to all those compelling games. If you put them on ABC, you don't have to sell me on them. You don't need College Game Day to preempt them. You should use College Game Day as the vehicle to celebrate college sports, not just celebrate the SEC. I'm not watching Big Noon Kickoff. I don't. I don't need it. Like if I'm going to watch one of the programs, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to watch Game Day. And I think Game Day, if I'm going to watch it, like I'm not like it's cool they were at Vandy last week, but it's still an SEC school. It's nothing. It's nothing totally amazing, unbelievable that's never been done before. Then they've been in Nashville before for Vandy. So I just think that to me, Jack, it's not. We don't have to go to big SEC every single week.
Well, and the concept is at this point, I feel like the location has almost become secondary to the show in most weeks. Like when they go to these big SEC, like when they go to LSU, like the show is about, hey, here's what's going on in college football. We've got this one big game here, but it's not about, hey, here's the culture of Baton Rouge. Here's the culture of LSU, because they've done it so many times. They don't need to do that anymore. And I think that one cool opportunity that happens when you have these small schools, or, even if we go to G5 programs, FCS program, whatever, the location serves as a separate story from everything else that's going on. And it's something that you can put a unique focus on and share a piece of college football that the rest of the country doesn't know. Even just in this push for the Ravine game to be on game day, the amount of people who have been exposed to the concept of the rivalry has been so cool to see. The way that the reaction on social media, people are like, I didn't know this was a thing, and now I'm really interested in it. Like, that's what game day can do. And I'm really hopeful, fingers crossed, that they make the right choice and listen to Reese Davis.
Do it. Maybe they'll
go for the Delph.
Maybe they'll do it for the 100th. That'd be cool if they did the 100th.
That's what I've been pushing for the longest time. But when the opportunity presents
you
never know what big game is going to be in 3 years. Now, this week, all you're fighting against is Texas A&M at Missouri. That's the only ranked game, I think.
I think it's next week.
So
I think it is. I want to believe it's next week.
On the 8th. Oh, wait, yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
Wrong week.
Yeah, I heard a bunch of people think that game was this week. It's not. They got A&M, Texas playing Vanderbilt this week. That's a big one. That's one of the big ones, at least. Utah, I think Utah is hosting Cincy. That's the College Game Day game this week, which shout out to them for going in the Big 12, but not as compelling as what else we're talking about here. All right, Jack, where can the folks find you in your work and all of its variety?
You can find us on KATV if you live in Arkansas every night, 5, 6, 10 o'clock. And then KATV.com. Follow me on Twitter at Jack Allen TV. Like I said, we're in that crossover season. So football, basketball, whatever, high school volleyball, I don't know. We're gonna be covering it all.
All right, sounds good. One more word from our friends, and Jack, we'll see you next week.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 8887-897777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Fees may apply in Illinois, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday ticket/terms. Limited time offer.
All right, so you got something else.
It's real quick. If they do come to Arkadelphia, my game day sign is going to say 0.8 miles, 0.0 national championships. Harding runs the GAC. Let's go.
Well, Simmons and Harding, the Bisons, have had another fantastic year that they run their way to a championship. All right, Jack. Appreciate you, man. We'll see you next week.
Sounds good.